After my playthrough of Mafia the Old Country, I found myself pleasantly surprised at the thoughtful yet interesting story, characters, and setting that Hangar 13 presented in this grounded and linear experience. Whilst the gameplay can at times feel quite dated and uninspiring, Mafia the Old Country has enough charm to keep audiences invested in a troubled Caruso's quest for love and belonging.
Not now! Just kill the bastards, figli puttani! They'll take Isabella!
Now, if you are someone who is after an open world game with heaps to explore and lots of different missions and side quests, and perhaps maybe even some choice in the outcome of the story, then this game is not for you. Mafia the Old Country is a very linear experience with lots of cutscenes, no side quests or extra progression outside of the main story, and besides finding collectibles or buying new cars, there is nothing for the player really to do or explore outside of the main story unless we get some content updates. And in its current state, I don't really see a lot of replayability. But if you are after a very focused story in where the biggest strength is in the characters and setting, then stick around because those elements are executed really well. So let's dive into that, and please be aware of minor spoilers.
Caruso. You like making yourself useful, huh? Don't you?
Mafia the Old Country begins in 1904 and is set in the beautiful southern Italian island of Sicily. It follows Ezio Favara, a young man whose father abandoned him and is forced to work in the mines, which are under control by the Spadaro crime family. In a desperate bid to escape the ruthless conditions and find a better life, Ezio attempts to escape the mines but is chased into the territory of the Torrisi family, a rival gang of the Spadaros. As Ezio finds himself in Torrisi territory, he is offered safety, but in return must commit himself to working the land for the Torrisi family. While it starts as tending stables and odd jobs such as debt collection, Ezio gradually proves his loyalty and commitment to the family and grows from a young boy struggling to survive to a reliable enforcer in the family.
So 100. I'd say that's a good deal.
A damn good deal.
But for me, it wasn't the story that was the highlight of Mafia the Old Country. That was reserved for the characters who each played their own part in shaping Ezio's personal journey and development. I loved the way Don Torrisi dominated scenes every time he was on screen, ensuring that his word was law and you feel compelled to not show any disrespect.
And if our truce is dishonored again, I will repay that offense. Tenfold.
His nephew Cesare joining Ezio on various jobs and adventures and always running into trouble like any two good mates.
She does this one thing, Madonna. E come to think of it, she'd be wasted on you. Minchia Cesare, smettila.
Luca, as a reliable and insightful role model explaining how the family business works, plays a key role in Ezio's introduction.
It's that man you should thank. If you want to show him some gratitude, work hard, keep out of trouble.
And the ever-charming Isabella, who Ezio might be a perfect match for, but not for the fact that she is also the Don's daughter.
Keep an eye on me. You'll be lucky if you can keep up.
It's here where Mafia the Old Country really shines, and Ezio himself is an interesting character which, despite some of the not so nice things he has to do to prove himself to the family, you can still find yourself rooting for him and sympathizing with his position. The way I see it, there are two key elements that drive Ezio. Firstly is him finding this sense of belonging, as Ezio is someone who has essentially been thrown to the wolves his whole life. He has never had a family or anybody to look out for him, and the Torrisi family is the first group of people that have really had his back, and he finds a place that can not only provide for him, but can accept him as one of their own. The second factor that drives Ezio is his whole life has been about survival. Luxuries such as a bed to sleep in and food to eat were once his only concern, so he never really had time to stop and reflect on what he truly wants out of life, only that he was trying to escape from a rough life in the mines. So, as he settles in and tries to prove himself to the Torrisi family, he can finally start to consider what he wants and who he wants to be. And this is a thought process that he hasn't had to grapple with before. There are some characters who start to really drive this and put that thought process in his mind, so seeing him explore that is something which I thought gave him an interesting edge. While I don't think the story of Mafia the Old Country was necessarily groundbreaking, I feel that what we did get was interesting enough and held my attention for the 13-hour playthrough, and I strongly believe that it's the characters that played a really, really large part in that.
This has to be the drive of your life. You just get me right.
In terms of gameplay, the best I can say though is it was mostly serviceable. If you've played any third-person shooter from even the PS2 days, then you know what to expect here, especially if you've played previous Mafia games. There are some sections which play like very generic shooting galleries where you'll be ducking for cover and swapping between various period-appropriate weaponry. There are also some really generic stealth sections with your classic throw something there to distract one enemy and sneak by. There are some sections where you have the option to do those guns blazing, others where getting detected will result in an instant fail, but for the most part, there isn't really a whole lot to discuss. The game does have some good set pieces though, which I think, if anything, really highlights how strong the setting is rather than the actual gameplay. For instance, I really enjoyed walking around town and hearing all the southern Italian chatter. Even when you're driving to a mission, the dialogue between characters was entertaining enough where I never took the game up on its offer to skip the travel sequences, especially with some of the gorgeous backdrops.
And what about you, Caruso? Though you might need a wash first. These girls will put up with a lot, but they don't go to bed with the livestock. Affanculo, Cesare.
I played on a PlayStation 5 in performance mode, and for the most part, the game looked great, although I did have some moments with some significant frame drops, particularly in one section involving a chase scene during a town festival. But the setting and scenery was strong enough that I could overlook some drops in performance. The combat is sometimes varied up with these scripted 1v1 knife fights with their own parry and block mechanics. Honestly, it's very simple and can be choppy at times. Also, I don't know what the honor code is in the Siciliani Mafia, but there were some situations where I thought the idea of some of these characters just throwing their guns down and choosing to kill each other in this manner was perhaps a little bit generous. Unfortunately, I didn't find this mechanic evolve well over time. I don't feel the enemies got tougher. I don't think there was any layers to build upon. So every time this popped up, especially later on in the game, I just sort of exhaled and went, oh, we really doing this? Outside of some horse riding and a tiny bit of racing, there isn't really a whole lot else to do in Mafia the Old Country. Outside of buying weapons and cars with Donato that you can collect, and also exploring some areas for collectibles or charms to upgrade your rosary with some very minimal buffs to Ezio, the game kind of comes and goes, and I don't have a lot of incentive to pick it back up now that I've finished it. As has been the theme for this whole review, I'm not being overly critical of the generic gameplay or lack of things to do, because the story and characters are strong enough that they can stand up on its own. And with the $50 USD price tag, I think if you go in with the understanding that this is a linear and very focused story, then I think that story, those characters, and that setting will be enough to justify the price of admission. Mafia the Old Country is available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, and while it didn't completely blow me away, I still had a lot of fun in playing through this grounded and focused experience. So if you're someone who really values interesting stories and characters and are happy to overlook some rather dated and stagnant gameplay, then I think there's something here for you that you'll really enjoy. But if you're someone who gets a bit bored watching some very long cutscenes, probably some more cutscenes than video game, then maybe I'd say wait till this goes on sale, and if it was say 30 US bucks, that'd be a great deal. You should jump on that right away. If you enjoyed this video, then please don't forget to leave a like and also comment below to let me know your thoughts on Mafia the Old Country. If you're considering buying the game or have been playing it, I want to hear from you in the comment section. And if you enjoyed my review, then consider subscribing and visiting the channel so you don't miss out on my upcoming videos. As always, thank you so much for watching. Lancey out.